Chapter 16. I wake up to the sound of the alarm, wanting nothing more than to roll back over and go back to sleep. I am looking at the clock when I feel a strong, calloused hand glide over my bare skin, pulling me into his body. I roll onto my back and look at Ian, who is smiling at me. I saw a different side of Ian, a side I didn't think he wanted me to see. After Ian almost made me late for work by not letting me get dressed, I finally walk into my office. I am greeted by our new receptionist, Hazel. She is an older woman with blonde hair that she wears in a bun all of the time. Since I won Mrs. Duval's case, Abby and I have picked up a few new clients, so we decided to hire someone to help with the phone calls and to make our appointments. Hazel has 20 years experience as a secretary, so she was perfect for the job. Abby and I are working on some of the cases together, so we decided to meet in the conference room to discuss them. "Miss Jacobs, here is your mail," Hazel says, stopping me on my way to the conference room. "Thanks, Hazel. Abby and I are having a meeting, so take our messages for us," I say, grabbing the stack of mail she's handing to me. I walk into the conference room, which has a black marble floor, and the walls are gray except for the one that is lined in ceiling-to-floor windows covered in white blinds. There's a table with a gray and black granite top that sits in the middle of the room with 8 black chairs around it. I sit down and start to open the mail while I wait on Abby. It is all bills except one addressed to me personally. I open it up and inside is a piece of paper with cutout letters that reads, "You better watch your back." "What the hell?" I say as Abby walks in with coffee. "What's that?" she asks, pointing to the letter. "I don't know. It was addressed to me," I say, handing it to her. "What is that supposed to mean?" she says, looking at it confused. "Probably some kind of prank," I say, shrugging it off and putting it in a folder. Abby and I start going over our client files. One client we took in is suing the company she worked for due to sexual harassment by her boss. The company is a large company, and if we win, then it will be a large settlement. We have witnesses to interview, as well as meetings with the company's representative and the lawyer. Abby and I are discussing the best approach for the case when Hazel walks in. "Miss Jacobs, I'm so sorry to bother you, but there's a gentleman here asking for you," she says. "Please tell him to come back in about an hour," I say, still looking over the papers. "I told him you were busy, but he is really insistent on seeing you now," she says. When I look up and see the look on Hazel's face, I figure I should see who it is to put her at ease. Abby looks at me. "I'm going to go get lunch." "I will meet you back here in about an hour," I say, closing the files. I look at Hazel and irritated because I'm starving myself and say, "I will see the gentleman now." When Hazel walks back in, I notice Ian is following her, and now I know why Hazel had that look on her face. I know Ian can be persistent. "Thanks, Hazel. Please continue to hold my calls," I say, looking at Ian. "Yes, Miss Jacobs," she says, smiling, closing the door behind her. "What are you doing here?" I ask. He walks over to the window, closing the blinds, and then locks the door. "Since you surprised me with lunch at work, I decided to surprise you," he says, holding up a black lunch bag. He sits it down on the table and pulls out a bowl of cut strawberries and thick slices of cucumbers. Then he sets a bottle of champagne, raspberry vinaigrette, on the table. "What is this?" I ask. "Lunch," he says, walking over to me, placing his lips on mine. He slides his tongue into my mouth and I moan. He pulls me in closer to him and pulls the pins out of my hair, making it fall around my face, down my shoulders. He unbuttons my silk blouse and I look up at him. "I thought we were eating lunch," I say with a grin. "We are," he says with a smile, sliding my blouse off and unhooking my bra. My bare breasts brush up against him and I feel my nipples get hard. He turns me around and unzips my skirt in the back, sliding it down my legs along with my panties. "Lay down," he orders, pointing to the conference room table. At this point, I am craving for his touch, so I don't hesitate. When I lay on the table, the coldness from the granite hits my bare skin, sending a welcomed, stinging sensation through my body. He walks closer to me, pulling his shirt up over his head. He undoes his belt, and then his pants, which are laying low on his hips, exposing the elastic of his white boxer briefs. I watch him unzip his pants, and I can't help but lick my lips. This is the best lunch I've ever had," I say. When he's down to his boxers, I see the fullness that lies in them, and I feel myself get wet from the arousal. I watch him grab the bottle of champagne vinaigrette. He shakes it and then opens it. He holds the bottle over top of my breast and pours a drizzle over both of my nipples. The coolness from the dressing makes them stand at a peak. I feel the hair on my arms stand up, but it doesn't cool down the heat that I feel within my body. After he opens up the bowl, he grabs a strawberry, taking a bite. Then he bends down and licks the dressing that lays on my nipple. "Yum," he says, looking up at me with those scorching, sexy eyes. He then grabs the bottle and drips the dressing down the center of my stomach, all the way down to my hairline. This time he grabs a cucumber and runs it down the trail of the dressing. He places it at my lip and I take a bite. "Sweet and tangy," I say. He continues to trail the dressing down my legs, taking a bite of the cucumber, licking the inside of my thigh from where it had dripped. He gently rubs the rest of the cucumber in the dressing, placing it in my mouth. Each drip of dressing that hits my skin makes my body scream for Ian to be inside of me. After the bowl is empty, he climbs up onto the table with me and picks my leg up, licking the dressing up to my thigh. I close my eyes, trying to keep myself from jumping up, throwing him down on the table. He moves to the other leg. This is the best dressing I've ever tasted. I open my eyes and smile at him. I watch him as he moves between my thighs and licks my clit up, then back down, slowly sucking. "My own Hollyn salad, and it tastes so sweet," he says with a grin. He places his tongue on my stomach, slowly licking up until he reaches my breast. I place my arms around him, and he laps his tongue around, massaging each nipple. He goes back up my neck to behind my ear, and then places his lips on mine. He gets down off of the table, pulling me to the edge. I notice his fullness in his underwear has turned into a hard length, and my body is screaming so loud right now. I wrap my legs around him, taking his hair in my hand, pulling him into my mouth. He pulls off his underwear, and my body is shocked by the fullness that enters me. He moves his hips back and forth with each thrust. I am lost completely in Ian. "Faster, Ian," I say, wrapping my hands around his ass, pushing him into me. He goes faster and harder. He takes his right hand, rubbing my clit as he moves his hips, and with the one final thrust, his body stiffens. I feel the muscles in my thighs start to convulse, causing him to release his warm liquid into me, and I release mine around him. Once we get our breathing under control, he pulls out of me. I notice some of the vinaigrette on his neck, so I take my tongue and lick it off. My own Ian salad," I say with a smile. I slide off of the table, and he walks over to the lunch bag, pulling out a wet rag and a dry hand towel. He walks over to me and takes the wet rag, wiping it over my body, getting the stickiness off from the dressing. Then he dries me with a dry one. I watch him, being gentle and caring, which makes my heart swell. After he's finished, he stands up. "Well played, Mr. Haynes," I say. After we get dressed, I take the rag and wipe off the table. "Thanks for lunch," Ian says, placing his lips on mine. "No, thank you." I kiss him and watch him walk out of the conference room. I'm still high in the clouds somewhere when Abby walks in a few minutes later. "Was Ian the guy who needed to see you?" she asks. "Yes, he brought me lunch," I say, trying to force back the crazy grin spreading across my face. "I seen him leaving, and Hollyn, you've got a little something there," she says with a smile, pointing to the side of my neck. I blush as she hands me a tissue, knowing she knows what happened from the expression on her face, but she doesn't say anything. After we work into the evening, we both feel good about the progress we have made, so we decide to call it a day. I grab the files to place in the cabinet when I remember the note I had received from earlier. I grab it out of the folder and look at it again, wondering who sent it. I walk over to my desk and place it in my top drawer. Chapter 17. Finally, it is Friday, and I can't wait to get off work because it has been a long week. I'm finishing up paperwork when there is a knock at the door. "Come in," I yell, and when I look up, I'm surprised because Hollyn is standing in the doorway, and my heart starts to pump out of my chest. Fuck. I say under my breath, placing my hand over my heart. When I look up, I can see the confused look on her face. I didn't mean to bother you, she says, looking at me with her big, beautiful gray eyes that turns me into stone every time she looks at me, making me feel like I can't move or breathe. I wasn't talking about you, Angel. I am really happy to see you, I say, motioning for her to come over to me. As she walks closer, I can smell the scent of honey. My mouth starts to water, wanting to be buried in between her thighs, tasting her. I pull her onto my lap. I can feel my cock starting to get hard, and I have to adjust it. I swear it seems like my heart and my cock fight over who wants to be with her more. She looks at me with those sexy lips, begging me to take them between my teeth. I want to cook you dinner tonight, she says. My place? I ask, hoping we will be alone. Yes, Abby is home and I don't want to kick her out, she says. She leans in close to my ear. I doubt if she would like what I have planned for dessert. Can't wait to taste it, I say, grabbing her lips between my teeth so I can taste them because I can't stand it anymore. I grab my keys and give her my house key off of the key ring. She shifts to where she's straddling me in my office chair, and I feel the warmth of her thighs, and my cock is trying to bust out of my pants. I reach up and grab the back of her neck, pulling her towards me so I can taste her soft skin. Damn, she smells so good. I can hear her breathing start to get fast, and I can feel her heart beating as fast as mine is. Then she raises up off of me, leaving my cock aching. Ian, if I don't leave now, dinner's not going to be finished, she says, walking to the door. I will be fine with just dessert, I say, teasing her. I can see how much this means to her, so I smile and tell her everything she needs is in the kitchen. I tell her I will be there soon because if she doesn't leave now, I'm not going to be responsible for what my cock is telling me to do to her. About an hour after Hollyn left, I find myself just staring at the papers on my desk. Fuck, all I can think about is her in my house and in my kitchen. I grab my jacket and lock up my office, wanting to get to her as fast as I can. I am walking down the dock to my motorcycle and Bess is walking towards me. I let out a sigh, hoping she keeps walking, but instead she walks right up to me. Where are you going in such a hurry, she asks. Home, I say, annoyed. Do you want company? I can make you dinner, she says, smiling. No, Hollyn's cooking me dinner, I say, and then her smile fades away. Are you going to her apartment? She asks. No, Bess, she is at my house. What is with all the fucking questions? I ask and start to walk away. Ian, she yells, and I turn around towards her. What do you actually see in her? She asks. I can't help but roll my eyes at her, and I walk away because I don't completely understand my feelings, and I sure as hell am not going to explain them to her. When I open the door and walk into the house, I immediately smell the aroma of dinner. I hang my jacket up and walk into the kitchen where Hollyn is standing, dicing pineapple. She's wearing black open-toed stilettos and a sleeveless lace black dress. Her hair is pulled up with those loose curls flowing down her face, and when she looks up at me, I want nothing more than to walk over to her and rip that dress off of her. Instead, I smile at her and walk into the bathroom to take a shower. After taking a quick shower, I throw on a gray button-down shirt and black slacks. After splashing some cologne on, I walk into the dining room, and the room is dim, with only light from candles. On the table are 2 plates with salmon and pineapple salsa, roasted red potatoes, and green beans. As I sit down, I pour white wine into 2 glasses sitting on the table. This looks great. Where did you learn to cook? I ask, taking a sip of the wine. I helped my mom cook when I was at home, she says, and takes a bite of the salmon. After dinner, I help Holly clear the table. I walk into the kitchen from grabbing the last dish, and she has been over, putting a plate in the dishwasher. I lick my lips because seeing her round ass is all I could take. I walk up behind her, grabbing her hips. I pull her towards me, and she turns around. I am ready for dessert, I whisper into her ear. She walks over to the counter, opening a box, and pulls out a mini eclair. She slowly walks over to me, placing it on my lips, and I take a bite. I watch her take a bite, leaving a little bit of the cream from the center on her lip. I take my tongue and lick it off, sucking her bottom lip. The hell with this, I say, pushing her up against the counter. I slide my hands up her dress, grabbing her ass. I place my tongue in her mouth, kissing those soft, plump lips of hers. I reach around and unzip her dress, letting it flow down her body until it hits the floor. She grabs my shirt, ripping it, making the buttons fly off. She places her lips on my chest. Then I feel everything in my body shudder when she takes her tongue and slowly, softly licks down my stomach to the rim of my underwear. I feel my cock getting tight in my pants where it is so damn hard. I am relieved when she unbuttons and unzips them, pulling them down with my underwear. I immediately arch my back from the warmth and wetness of her mouth. I can feel the silkiness from her lips going up and down on my cock. She takes my balls into her mouth and lightly sucks on them. She takes my cock back in her mouth, moving up and down. I feel her tongue wrap around my cock, and then I hit the back of her throat. "Shit, that feels good," I say through labored breathing. She picks up the speed, and I go deeper into her throat. "Hollyn, I'm going to come." I hit the back of her throat again, sending me to my release. "Fuck," I yell, releasing my orgasm as she swallows. As she stands up, I grab her, carrying her to the dining room table. Damn, she is sexy, wearing nothing but black and green lace and stilettos. The way the candlelight glows against her flawless skin makes me ache for her bare skin to be against mine. I rip her panties off, throwing them to the floor because I can't get to her fast enough. I notice the surprised look on her face, and before I bury myself between her thighs, I say, "I will buy you new ones." Damn, she tastes so sweet. I take my tongue, licking her slowly up and down. I take her clit into my mouth and suck on it. I circle my tongue around, and she moans. She is dripping wet, so I place 2 fingers into her, and I pick up the speed with my tongue and my fingers until she arches her back. "Fucking hell, Ian," she screams. I love when she yells my name. It makes me feel like I have total control over her body, and by the way she arches her back and shakes when I make her come, I know I do. I have never wanted to pleasure a woman as much as I do Hollyn. I get satisfaction out of knowing that I can make her feel things and experience things that I know she never has. When I raise up, I see the smile on her face, and it makes me smile. I pull her closer to me and slide my cock into her wet pussy. She is so fucking tight, but it is like I fit perfect inside of her. I love hearing her gasp and the look on her face when I first stick my cock into her. I start slowly, moving my hips back and forth until she adjusts to me, then I pick up the speed. "Ian, faster, baby," she demands. I start moving my hips faster back and forth. I pull the cups of her bra down so her breasts are laying on top of them. I take one into my mouth, then the other one, sucking her perfect small round nipples into a peak. I start to move my hips in a circle like I know she loves, and she throws her head back. "Oh, fuck, Ian," she says through labored breathing. I rub her clit, and I can feel her muscles clench around me, making her release her orgasm around me. "Fucking hell, Hollyn," I yell. My toes curl, and I come with her. I wrap my arms around her hips and carry her to the bedroom. The next morning, I lay there in bed watching Hollyn sleep beside of me. This is the first time I've ever had anyone in my bed because I've never wanted to deal with the morning after fucking. But Hollyn has brought something out of me to where I go against everything that I know. She looks so peaceful with her hair lying across her cheek. She is an angel that has come into my life, awakening feelings that I never knew existed. She opens her eyes and smiles at me, stretching. "Good morning," she says with sleepy eyes. "Good morning, angel," I say, brushing back a loose strand of hair off of her face. "Come on, I will cook you breakfast," I say, slapping her on the ass. I walk into the kitchen and clean up the eclairs that must have fallen off of the counter last night, then walk to the fridge to get all of the stuff I need to make breakfast. I make blueberry crepes and bacon. Hollyn comes into the kitchen in one of my t-shirts, and she looks sexy as hell. "That smells great. I'm starving," she says, coming up behind me, wrapping her arms around me, getting too close to that fucking scar on my chest, and it makes me slightly jerk. I don't jerk because it causes pain. I jerk because I'm scared that she will feel the pain that I tried to hide so hard. I feel her lips softly kiss my back, so I turn around to face her. I move her arms away from my scar to around my neck. I kiss her, then she goes to the cabinet to grab the plates. After breakfast, we go to the bathroom and I run a bubble bath. I lean against the doorway, watching Hollyn take off my t-shirt, and she is just as sexy in my shirt as she is out of it. I help her get in, then I take off my pajama pants and get in behind her. "This feels so good," she says, leaning back against me. "Yes, it does," I say, leaning my head back, because somehow this does feel right. "Do you do this with all the women you've been with?" she asks. "I like bathing every woman I fuck," I say, teasing her. I circle the bubbles around her breast with my fingertips. "So Beth has been in this bathtub?" she says. I can feel her body stiffen. I let out a laugh. "No, only you." I feel her relax and then she turns towards me. "Ian, how many women have you been with?" she asks. "Why does it matter?" I ask her. "I have only been with one person one time in college, and it was a huge lapse of judgment in my part," she says. "I've been with a few," I say, and I can see that she isn't satisfied with that answer. "How many are a few?" she asks. "Just drop it, Hollyn. None of that matters," I say, getting aggravated. "I heard you don't date, you just fuck." "Ian, am I someone you were just fucking?" she asks. Shit, and now the questions start. "Hollyn, if I wanted you gone, you would be by now," I say, trying to reassure her. "Well, I'm glad I'm still here," she says, smiling. "So where did you learn how to cook?" she asks. "I had to learn at a young age because if I didn't cook then, I didn't eat." "Damn it, Hollyn," I shout, already aggravated. I get out of the bathtub, leaving her looking puzzled. I wrap a towel around my waist and walk into the bedroom. I hear her get out of the bathtub, and she walks in behind me. I turn towards her, making her jump from having to stop from running into me. "What is with all the damn questions? Everything was going great until you had to ruin it," I spit at her. "I'm sorry, but don't you think you owe me answers?" she yells. "What makes you think I owe you anything?" I ask her, and I can tell that I have hurt her, but she's making me think of shit that I don't want to, and it's making me crazy. I can't stand seeing her hurting, but I'm scared that she's going to get me to open up because she already puts cracks in my walls. She's going to get me to have to tell her why I'm so fucking scared to get close to anyone, so I decide that, as much as it hurts me, she needs to leave. "You made me dinner and we fucked. End of story," I say. She walks over to me, placing her hands on my biceps. I feel the electricity that goes through my body every time she touches me, and I jerk away to break the connection. She looks into my eyes like she's searching for something. "Wow, so you're going to push me away?" she says, looking at me like she has found what she was looking for. Now her eyes are filled with tears, threatening to flow down her face, but I know I can't stop now. I walk to the other side of the room away from her to give me strength. "Wake up, Hollyn. Just because you were here doesn't mean you were the only woman I'm fucking. You were just on the top of my list," I say, choking on each word, as I know they are not true. She looks at me, and her eyes are darker than usual. "Is that why you wouldn't tell me anything about your trip to Wisconsin? Were you fucking another woman, Ian?" she shouts at me. I see the shock on her face, and it is taking everything in me not to run over to her, throwing my arms around her, and tell her I'm sorry, but I know I can't. "I can't help what my cock does," I say, and force a smile at her. Her tears are now replaced with anger, which makes me question what I just did. I watch her grab her dress and shoes. She walks to the doorway and then turns to face me. "I don't know why you're being such an asshole, but if what you're saying is true, then I will be doing myself a favor by walking out of that door," she says, and I watch her leave the room. I am frozen in place, not able to move. Then I hear the door slam, and suddenly I find it hard to breathe. I drop to my knees, holding my chest. Then I feel the tears pouring down my face. What did I just do? Chapter 18. I walk out of Ian's house in nothing but a towel, holding my dress and shoes. The door slams behind me, and I quickly walk to my car, hoping nobody sees me. I keep telling myself over and over, don't cry. I drive to the apartment. When I get there, Abby and Austin are in her room. I go into my room, slamming the door a little harder than when I wanted to. I grab a shirt and some stretch pants out of the drawer. I am putting my shirt over my head when there is a knock at my bedroom door. When I didn't say anything, Austin asks through the door, "Hollyn, is everything okay?" I walk over to the door and open it. When I see him, the tears automatically start to flow. He wraps his arms around me, and I sob in his chest in silence. After a few minutes, I stop crying. I look up at Austin, and he says, "That bastard, what did he do to you?" "Nothing I can't handle," I say. I walk into the kitchen and grab a pint of chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, and Austin follows me. "Hollyn, I'm not saying you can't handle it, but if he hurt you, then he's going to answer to me," he says. Abby walks in holding her phone to her ear. "Yes, she is here, and she is fine," she says to the person on the other end. She hangs up the phone and looks at me. "Who was that?" I ask. She looks at me puzzled. "Ian called me, wanting to make sure you got home okay, especially since you left this house, only wearing a towel," she says. "You should have just told him to go screw himself," I say, dabbing my spoon into the ice cream. "Hollyn, what in the hell were you thinking walking around in just a towel?" Austin says, scolding me. "Just drop it, Austin. I am not in the mood," I say, walking to my bedroom, shutting the door. I grab my iPod and turn on Love is Like a Battlefield by Jordan Sparks, hitting repeat. I downloaded this song after my night out with the jerk who took my virginity. I thought I was in love then, but now I know that I was just blind and gullible. That night after we had gone to a party, and I had too much to drink, he talked me into going back to his dorm room. I thought I was safe with him. We were lying on the bed making out, which was as far as we'd ever gone because I always stopped him. But tonight, he pushed me on my back. He got on top of me, holding my wrist down on the bed. He pushed my skirt up and pulled up my shirt, exposing my breast. I watched in shock as he undid his pants. I told him I wasn't ready, but he told me that I had to lose my virginity sometime and that it needed to be with him because he cared about me. Deep down inside, I knew if he cared about me, he wouldn't be forcing himself on me. I remember he wasn't gentle at all, and it hurt like hell. I asked him to stop because of the pain, but he told me he couldn't. I always imagined my first time having sex being romantic and special, and it was far from that. It felt dirty and wrong. And I never expected my first time to include tears running down my cheek from anger, and pain, and shame. I thought maybe joy and happiness, but there was no joy with Ryan. Only the pain from him forcing himself into me, and the pain I feel each time I remember what happened. It didn't take long for him to finish. After he pulled out of me, he said he had early morning classes and he would call me tomorrow. I didn't say anything. I sat up in disbelief of what had just happened and adjusted my clothes. I went back to my townhouse, avoiding Abby. I walked into my room, took a shower, and went to bed. I never heard from Ryan again. After that night, anytime we crossed paths on campus, he would avoid looking my way and never attempted to talk to me. I began to have a bunch of guys asking me out. I knew that he was telling everybody he had slept with me, and that was the reason for all of the sudden attention. I would listen to Fergie's Big Girls Don't Cry to give me inspiration and strength to get through the feelings of what happened to me. I told myself that I would never be vulnerable like that again. Now that I've opened myself up to Ian, I've placed myself back in a vulnerable state. This is what I have been afraid of, as I promised myself I would never experience this feeling again. It is different this time with Ian because he has a hold on me, and I can't stop thinking about him and wanting to be with him. After Abby brought some soup up to my room for me to eat for dinner, I fell asleep. I must have been exhausted. When I wake up, it is dark outside. I look at my clock, and it's 5 a.m. My iPod had died, so I got out of bed and put it on charge. I decided to go to the gym and run to clear my head. I put on my gym clothes and grabbed my gym bag. I have run on the treadmill for about 30 minutes, and more people start coming in. I roll my eyes and stop the treadmill when I see Bess walk into the gym. I step off the treadmill, hoping to escape her. I don't want to deal with her right now. I couldn't escape quickly enough because she spots me immediately. She walks over and says, "You were here early." I don't say anything, hoping she would just walk away, but she doesn't. "I was at Ian's last night, and he told me what happened." I start to feel my blood turning into lava. He can't talk to me, but evidently he sure as hell can talk to her. I lean into her face. "Bess, you can have Ian. He is all yours." I grab my gym bag and walk to the front door when she yells, "Hollyn, from what he told me, he isn't yours to give." I ball my hands in fists and start to walk towards her, but I stop myself because I don't want to give her the satisfaction of letting her know she gets to me. Instead, I slam open the door and walk to my car. I told myself I wouldn't cry and that I was stronger than this, but as I'm driving, I feel the tears flowing down my face. It has been a long, emotional 2 weeks trying to forget about Ian. I am hurt, but I am angry at him for just throwing away what we had. I know deep down it was more than just sex, and for him to be able to push me away like that just proves to me how broken he is. No matter what it is that he has buried inside, he has no right to use me, then throw me away whenever he chooses. I've been working longer hours at the office. When I'm not at the office, I'm at the gym, but I decide to go to the gym later in the day to avoid running into Bess again. I'm sitting at my desk, going over documents when my phone rings. "Miss Jacobs, there's someone here to see you," Hazel says. "Send them in," I say, closing the folders on my desk. When the door opens, Tyler walks in. "Hollyn, have you thought any more about what I said to you?" "Tyler, I'm really not in the mood for this right now," I say, getting up from my desk. "I haven't stopped thinking about you," he says, walking closer to me. "I'm sorry, Tyler, but I don't feel the same way," I say, putting my hands up to keep him from coming any closer. "We are friends, and if that isn't what you want, then I can't see you anymore." I can see the hurt in his face. He turns around and walks out of my office. As if I'm not an emotional mess already, now I have to deal with breaking Tyler's heart. I work until it's late. Abby's already left for the day, so I decide to go home and try to get some sleep. I'm walking to my car when I notice someone walking down the street in a dark hoodie sweatshirt. I start the car and go to pull out of the parking lot. I look in my rearview mirror and notice the person is now standing at the edge of the street watching me. When I arrive to the apartment, I park and catch myself looking around before I get out. When I enter the apartment, Abby isn't home, and I see my mail sitting on the table by the door. I skim through it and notice there are bills, so I lay the mail back on the table. I walk into the kitchen and grab a glass of wine. I walk to my bedroom so I can relax in a hot bath. I open the door and I'm startled by someone standing at my window. I drop the glass of wine, making the glass shatter. I turn on the light and notice it is Ian. "Shit, you scared me to death," I say, grabbing my chest, feeling my nerves rattling. "Sorry, I need to talk to you, and you weren't home," he says. "How did you get in here?" I ask. "The spare key. I thought I told you to hide that damn key somewhere else," he says. "I haven't had the chance. What makes you think you can just come in here?" I say, walking over to grab a towel to clean up the wine. He sits on my bed, pulling at his hair. "Hollyn, I didn't mean the things I said to you." I look at him and ask, "Then why did you say it?" "I pushed you away because you have questions and I don't know how to answer them." "Ian, everybody has shit they have to deal with," I say. Ian inhales a sharp breath, letting it out. "I have buried things deep, and I am afraid if I let that anger resurface, I could end up like him and hurt you." He looks up at me. I see the crease form between his eyes. "Hollyn, if I ever let that anger get the best of me, I would never forgive myself." I think to myself, but I don't push the question. I walk over and make him look at me. "I don't believe you could ever physically hurt me, but you have hurt me other ways." He wraps his muscular arms around me. "Hollyn, it kills me to think I hurt you in any way, and I'm sorry for it," he says, laying his cheek on the top of my head. He lets me go and walks towards the door, but before walking out, he turns around and says, "I understand if you can't forgive me." I watch him as he walks out of my room. I can hear the front door shut, which leaves me feeling like the shattered glass lying on the floor. My heart takes the lead over my head and I run to the elevator. I press the button and the door opens. I wait anxiously on my descent, hoping I can catch him in time. When the elevator comes to a stop, it seems like the doors take forever to open. When they finally do, Ian is standing in front of me. We stare at each other, not having to speak any words. He wraps his hand around the back of my neck, pulling me into him. He places his lips on mine, and with each kiss, the pieces of my shattered heart are put back together. I pull away from him, because if I don't, I won't be able to talk to him and tell him how I feel. Ian, I want to get to know all of you, so don't shut me out. Don't lie to me, and don't push me away like you did, I say. I'm so fucking scared of losing you, he says, stroking my cheek. I shut my feelings down a long time ago, but you came into my life, and now I can't picture it without you, and that scares the shit out of me, he says, and I see the fear in his eyes. Tears start to fill my eyes because even though I don't know the demons that haunt him, I am hopeful that a little piece of the wall he built has cracked. Ian, the only thing I have known in my life is school. I thought I had my life planned out until you. You awoke feelings in me that I never knew were there, I say, putting my arms around him. We can figure it out together. Just don't push me away again, I say. He places a single kiss on the top of my head. I bite my bottom lip. Ian, why do you open up to Bess when you can't me? I don't, he says. Why was she at your house the night after I left? I ask. She came over and I told her I wasn't in the mood for company. She kept asking me so many damn questions. I was pissed because I knew I had hurt you and told her I didn't want company because you had left. I looked up at him. Stay with me tonight. He takes my hand and leads me into the elevator. I wake up in the middle of the night with my leg across Ian's leg and my arms across his chest. I feel the fullness in my bladder and getting up try not to wake him. When I'm in the bathroom, I hear Ian mumbling. When I walk back into the bedroom, he is still sleeping. I jump when he starts thrashing around in the sheets, still mumbling. Don't, Daddy, please don't. I watch him sit up, folding his knees into his chest, and he starts to rock. I walk closer to the bed. Ian, wake up, I say. He continues to rock, so I place my hand on his shoulder. Ian, sweetie, wake up, I say a little louder, hoping he hears me. He grabs my wrist and looks up at me with an empty, dark stare. He squeezes my wrist, pinching the skin around it. I try to twist out of his grip, but I can't free it. Ian, you are hurting me, I say, still trying to pull free. Finally, I feel the release of his grip. Hollyn, fuck, I'm sorry, are you okay? I sit down on the bed beside him, rubbing my wrist. Yeah, I'm fine. You were dreaming, I say. Shit, I'm so sorry, he says, pulling me down to lay with him, wrapping me in his arms. I lay on his chest and look up at this handsome, disturbed man. I squeeze him tighter, kissing his chest and then his neck until I reach his lips. He opens his gorgeous eyes and I can see they are brighter. I place my lips back on his chest, getting closer to the scar that lays above his heart. I feel him flinch, but he doesn't stop me. I place tender kisses over the scar and then make my way down to his stomach. I kiss along the V of his hips, pulling down his boxers, springing free his erection. I kiss all around it and slowly lick the length with my tongue until I am at the tip. I kiss it before taking it into my mouth. Damn, Angel, that feels good, he says, placing his right hand in my hair. I move slowly up and down, wrapping my tongue around his cock. I feel the soft tip hit the back of my throat. I start going faster, trying to soothe him and make him forget about the demons that awoke him tonight. I take my hand, moving it along with my mouth, sucking and stroking up and down, faster and faster, until he moans. Fuck, he growls. I feel the warmth of his release shoot into my mouth, flowing down the back of my throat. He sits up and pulls me into his lap, so I am straddling him. You have no idea what you do to me, he whispers in my ear. I feel him growl hard between my thighs. My nipples turn hard and start to ache from arousal. Ian moves my hair away from my neck. He places soft kisses down my collarbone and I close my eyes. I feel his tongue on my neck, sending me to climax. Just when I think I'm about to come by just feeling the warmth and softness of his tongue, I am overwhelmed by the fullness entering me. He kisses my chest and my breast. I move my hips up and down on his hard length. I move slowly to adjust to him being inside of me. He takes my nipples between his teeth, biting them. He licks the welcome sting from the bite, leaving my nipples at a peak. He kisses me softly on my neck and my shoulder. He slowly lifts me up off of him. Turn around, he says, leaving me feeling the emptiness between my thighs. After turning around, I feel the pleasurable fullness inside of me again. He wraps my hair in one hand, pulling my head back, exposing my neck to him. His other hand helps guide me up and down as he goes deeper. He kisses my exposed neck as I move faster, and I feel myself ready to explode around him. He removes my hand from my hip, placing it on my clit, making circular motions. You are so wet and feel so good, he says through labored breathing. I see his toes curl and I arch my back. We both release a hard orgasm, which causes us to fall into each other. I lift up, sliding his length out of me, which makes my clit throb for him again. I lay beside him, and we wrap our bodies together like a pretzel. It takes me a while before I fall back to sleep, wondering what haunts Ian in his nightmares. The rest of the night, Ian seemed to sleep peaceful. I glance over at the clock, and it is 8 o'clock in the morning. I look up at his face and take the back of my fingers, rubbing them down the stubble on his face. He flicks open his eyes and smiles. Good morning, Angel. Good morning, I say, putting my face to his, and he kisses me. Am I dreaming again? No, I say, looking at him confused. He pushes me off of him onto my back and takes a nipple in between his teeth and bites it hard. Ouch, I scream. Nope, these are real, he says with a laugh. Then he slides his finger down my slit. You are so wet. I let out a long moan as his finger softly glides up and down my slit. He easily sticks his fingers into me, making me lift my hips slightly off the bed. Nope, definitely not a dream, he says with a smile. I feel his hard length touching my thighs. He places a tender kiss on my lips. I grab his hair and push my mouth harder on his lips. I bite his bottom lip, then slide my tongue into his mouth. I feel his length swell. He takes it in his hand, rubbing the tip up and down my clit. I can feel my arousal running down my thighs, and my body begs for him to be inside of me. I moan, and he slowly slides his cock into me. I start moving my hips with him, slow at first, to adjust to the fullness. Then he picks up the rhythm and lets out a loud moan. Damn, Hollyn, he says. I nod my head in agreement, thinking the same thing about him. He moves his hand down my body and takes his thumb, rubbing my clit. My breathing picks up, and I arch my back off of the bed, sending me to my release. I see the small beads of sweat that Ian gets on his forehead right before he comes. I clench my muscles around him, watching his face as he releases his orgasm inside of me. He rises up and slides his tongue into my mouth. He slowly slides out of me when my phone rings. I reach over and grab it off the side of the table. Hi, Mom, I say, jumping up as if she had just opened my bedroom door. I grab my Alabama college shirt off the chair and slide it over my head. I catch Ian staring at me like he is ready to devour me. Are you there, Hollyn? Yes, I'm here, Mom. I was calling because I wanted to see if you wanted to come over for dinner. What time? I ask. Be here about 6, she says. I walk into the bathroom so Ian can't hear me. Mom, do you care if I bring someone? You know we don't care if you bring a friend. Who is it? She says. I bite my bottom lip and then say, Ian Haynes. I hear nothing but silence on the other end, and then she says, we would love to have him over for dinner. Okay, we will see you at 6, I say, not knowing if I should feel shocked or relieved that she didn't lecture me. As I hang up, I feel Ian walk up behind me. I was away from you too long, he says, wrapping his arms around me, engulfing me in his warmth. That was my mom. She wants us to come for dinner, I say, leaning back into his chest. Well, until then, I guess I get you all to myself, he says, tickling me. and I let out a shriek. "Come on, let's eat breakfast," he says, putting on his jeans that hang on his hips. I grab a pair of cotton shorts and we walk into the kitchen. Abby is sitting in the living room watching television, and her eyes shift to us. "Good morning, Abby," Ian says, smiling. "Morning? It is the afternoon. I was wondering when you were going to show your face so I could see what plaything Hollyn had in there," she says with a smile. "I better be the only plaything she has in her bedroom," Ian says with his smile fading. "Well then, make up your damn mind if you want her or not, because Ian, somebody else is going to take your place," she says. I see Ian get the crease between his eyes. "You two stop. I am hungry," I say and walk to the kitchen. I open the refrigerator and Ian comes up behind me. He starts getting eggs, bacon, cheese, milk, and grabs a bag of spinach. "What are you doing?" I say, looking over my shoulder. "Making you breakfast. Where's a bowl?" he asks, opening a cabinet. I walk over, handing him a bowl. "Don't forget about me," Abby yells. I walk into the living room and sit beside of Abby while Ian mixes eggs and milk in a bowl. Instead of watching television, my entertainment is watching him in the kitchen. There's nothing like a sexy man cooking. The room starts to smell delicious, and Ian places 3 plates on the table. "Bon appetit," he says. "Wow, this looks amazing. It smells wonderful," I say, looking down at the plate with the bacon and spinach omelet. He pours us a cup of coffee and orange juice. I put a bite in my mouth and it melts with flavor. "I think I have found my new favorite breakfast," Abby says mid-chew. "Abby Hollyn has forgive me, and I know you care about her, so I need to ask you, do you forgive me too?" Ian asks. She lets out a sigh. "You did make me a great breakfast. Just don't hurt her again," she says, and then smiles at him. After we finish eating, I gather the plates, and I load them in the dishwasher, then walk to my room. When I get in my room, Ian is laying on the bed listening to my iPod. "Battlefield?" he asks, looking from my iPod to me. I look at him and shrug, remembering I had it on repeat. He grabs my laptop and types in something. Then he hooks my iPod up and downloads a song. He gets up off the bed and grabs his shirt, putting it on. He walks toward me. "I have to go home and get ready for dinner with your parents. I will meet you back here, and we can take your car," he says, giving me a kiss on the tip of my nose. After he leaves, I go over to my bed and pick up my iPod. I turn it on to see what he downloaded, and "Without You" by David Guetta starts to play. I lay on my bed, still able to smell Ian's scent, and I grab the pillow, holding it, listening to each word of the song. I smile because he was missing me just as much as I was him. Chapter 19. When we arrive at my parents' house, we go in and walk to the kitchen. As soon as I enter the doorway, I immediately smell shrimp Alfredo. My mom walks over to us, rubbing her hands on her apron. "I made your favorite," she says, giving me a hug. "It smells wonderful," Ian says to her. "It's good to see you again, Ian," my mom says as my dad walks into the kitchen. "There's my baby girl," my dad says. "Ian, how are you?" he asks, shifting his gaze to Ian's hand, laying on the small of my back. "I'm doing good, Mr. Jacobs. Thank you for inviting me to dinner," he says, holding out his hand. My dad looks down at Ian's hand and hesitates before taking it. I quickly shoot my dad a look. "Come on in, Ian. We can sit in the living room and talk while the ladies finish up with dinner," he says. As they walk away, I hear my dad ask Ian how the fishing business was going. "Is there anything I can help you with, Mom?" I ask, turning towards her. "You can cut up the salad," she says, handing me a knife. I cut up the salad, thinking about the last time I had salad, and a huge smile is on my face. "Hollyn, what are you smiling about?" Mom asks as she puts the baguette in the oven. "I'm just happy. It's like old times helping you cook," I say, not wanting to tell her the real reason. "Where's Austin?" I ask. "He said he had something he had to do, and to tell you that he would see you later," she says. "Oh, okay," I say, wondering what he had to do that was so important this late. I walk into the dining room and set the table, leaving my mom cutting the bread and finishing up in the kitchen. I look into the living room, and Ian is sitting on the couch by himself, so I walk in there in a hurry. "Come on," I say, grabbing his hand. We walk upstairs, and I push him into my room, shutting the door. I slam myself into him, placing my lips on his. "Hollyn, your parents are downstairs," he says between kisses. "I know, but I need to taste you," I say, placing my tongue in his mouth. "You better stop, because if you don't, I'm going to take you right here, and somehow I don't think your parents will appreciate that," he says, cupping my ass with his hands. My breathing picks up, and as much as I would love to throw him on my bed in my old room, I know he is right. I give him one last kiss and walk to the mirror to fix my smudged lipstick. I take a tissue and wipe it off of Ian's mouth, and we walk back downstairs. "There you are," my mom says. "I was showing Ian to the bathroom," I say, looking at Ian. "Dinner is ready," she says, walking into the dining room. After dinner, I help my mom clean up while Ian and my dad sit on the deck. "Hollyn, Ian seems like a nice guy," she says, leaning against the counter. "He is independent, hot, and seems to care for me," I say, and I see the expression on her face change from soft to concerned, and I know that look all too well. "How serious are you?" she asks, placing a kettle of water on the stove for hot tea. "We are still getting to know each other, but I think I love him," I say, looking around, making sure he couldn't hear me. "Have you told him you love him?" she asks, grabbing the tea out of the cupboard. "No, but I'm sure he knows," I say. She turns to me, placing her hand on my arm. "You need to be careful, Hollyn. You have worked so hard in school, and you don't want to throw all of this away for a man." "Don't you think I know that, Mom?" I say, agitated. "You should just be concentrating on your career is all I'm saying." "Mom, as far as my career is concerned, I think I'm doing just fine." "Hollyn, I just want to see you succeed in life," she says. I shake my head at her in disbelief that she's still treating me like this. "I have given my life to school and work, but I deserve happiness too. Why can't you just be happy for me?" I ask. "I am happy for you. I'm just worried about you. I know Ian has been through a lot in his life, so just be careful," she says. "How can you say that? You don't know anything about him," I spit back at her. "How do you know you are in love with him in the short time you've been with him, Hollyn? You haven't been in a relationship to know what love is," she says. "That is because you have always told me to be focused on school and not let any distractions get my way." I scream at her a little too loudly. "I am not talking to you about this anymore, and if this is the only reason you invite us to dinner, I am leaving," I say, lowering my voice. I stomp off to tell Ian I'm ready to go. When I get to the doorway that leads to the deck, I overhear my dad talking to Ian. "Hollyn is a strong and bright woman who has a kind heart, and I don't want you ruining her," I hear my dad say. "With all due respect, Mr. Jacobs, that is none of your business because, like you said, she is a woman who is more than capable of making her own choices," Ian says. "I know about your father and how you inherited your business," my father says. "His father? How does my father know about Ian's father?" I think to myself. "I've seen you walking around here with that young woman, Bess, and I know the reputation she has, so you better not hurt my daughter," my father says through his gritted teeth, and I notice the crease formed between Ian's eyes. "Mr. Jacobs, this is your home, and out of respect for that, all I'm going to say is I don't know what you think you know, but I do not like talking about my father. As far as Hollyn goes, you don't have anything to worry about because I care for your daughter," Ian says. I walk out on the deck, and Ian and my father are still staring at each other. "Ian, I'm tired and ready to go," I say. He takes my hand, and we walk to the car. I don't say anything about what I overheard, and I don't say anything about the conversation I had with my mom. After he gets in the car, he puts his hand on my knee, and the only thing breaking silence between us is the radio. When we pull up to the apartment, Ian walks me to the door and kisses me bye. "I will call you later," he says. He is walking away to leave when a sudden urge of wanting him to be close to me. "Ian, stay with me," I yell. He turns around and walks up to me. I open the door and we go to my room. He takes his clothes off down to his underwear, and I take mine off down to my lingerie. We crawl under the sheets, holding each other, not saying anything. I've never felt like I belong somewhere more than I feel like I belong in Ian's arms. I wake up to an empty feeling, and when I open my eyes, the sun is just coming up, and I don't see Ian, but there's a note laying on the pillow next to me. I open it, and it reads, "Had to go to work. You were sleeping like an angel, and I didn't want to wake you." I roll over in the bed where Ian was sleeping, so I am completely wrapped in his smell, and I fall back to sleep.